Van Diemen's Land Company is a 185-year-old Royal Charter Company based in Tasmania. It's owned by New Zealand company Tasman Farms Limited. Van Diemen's Land Company is Australia's largest dairy farmer. It operates 23 dairy farms and milks 16,000 cows. The company produces up to 5 million kilos of milk solids a year and is Fonterra Australia's biggest supplier. Its largest property is Woolnorth, Tasmania's biggest farm with a 17,000 hectare footprint. It was the reliable rainfall of the Roaring Forties that brought the first of the European farmers here in the early days of settlement, and that's what still makes it a great dairy area. Here at Woolnorth, the mix of high sunshine hours and rainfall means the grass grows well, even during the winter. The property has very significant development and conversion potential. In 1825, Yorkshire woolen mills demanded more fibre, and George IV granted Van Diemen's Land Company nearly 150,000 hectares of Tasmania to farm sheep for their wool. And to this day, uniquely, nearly 2 centuries and 7 English sovereigns later, the company still operates Woolnorth under the very same royal charter. In the early days, Woolnorth farmed fibre using low technology with precarious market demand. Since the 1970s, though, it's been steadily converted to beef and dairy land and has the potential to double the number of dairy farms from its land bank. Dairy is one of the world's biggest agriculture booms of the past few decades. Huge new markets continue to emerge and expand, especially throughout Asia and the Middle East. Projections are for increasing demand for animal protein from consumers who are prepared to pay higher prices. Though there are market fluctuations, most economists will agree agriculture is entering a super cycle for soft commodity prices, particularly for traditional butter, cheese, milk powder, infant formula, functional foods and dairy ingredients. At the same time, the worldwide supply of land and water is under pressure, and input prices are also escalating, as both primary demand and demand for alternative uses such as biofuels increase. At Woolnorth, grass is the main feed with silage and grain supplements. There's plenty excess pasture production for supplements and further opportunities to develop dairy land. 12 other farms are owned by Van Diemen's Land Company in the Circular Head area, including Truwater and Tagari. North West Tasmania, with Circular Head and Woolnorth at its epicentre, is one of Australasia's strongest growing dairy regions. Many potential conversion blocks are adjacent to established dairy operations, making the current and future development opportunities extremely viable for Woolnorth. Wetland areas require efficient drainage systems for pastoral farming, and the right machinery is on hand to survey, hump and hollow, and carve out the contours, just as other equipment's utilised to dig drainage ditches on drier parts of the property. To get higher production out of land and animals, the natural soil moisture can be supplemented and hydration supplied to the stock. Irrigation systems would be a backup to minimise the risk of any short-term rainfall deficit reducing production. Troughs are needed for essential livestock watering, as well as pipes, canals, pumping, dams and reservoirs. The best natural locations have been identified for further construction to store large amounts of water for low rainfall periods, and larger irrigation schemes are under consideration. Standard pasture seed mixes are adequate no longer. Pasture species and varieties are as improved and targeted as the stock that feed on them to ensure best returns from cow and cultivar. The land's been fenced for precise management schedules, including an extensive plan of wallaby fencing for pasture protection. Fertiliser is brought in and applications are calculated on need. Limestone supply from the company's own quarries an added bonus. The raw material for keeping Woolnorth soils at an optimum pH level is right on hand. So too is the gravel quarry for road construction, again keeping transport costs down and making sure vital farm roading is an all-weather proposition. Sophisticated milking sheds can monitor the cows for production and health. New instrumentation's being built into the sheds which will measure the quality and quantity of each cow's milk. This is the start of a technology explosion. RFID information transmission and recording will automate real-time measurement, calculation and display of what each and every cow is producing. how much this milking and every other milking will put into the Wool North vats. Besides the farm infrastructure, improvements to stock genetics have begun to raise the milking performance of each subsequent generation. The genetic gains are not only permanent, but they're also vital to optimise milk production on these high technology and highly refined management systems. Wool North's 17,000 hectares now stock more than 11,000 dairy cows. That's slightly more than an average 1,000 milking cows for each of the individual 11 farms at Wool North, run by a mix of share farmer operators and managers. A further 5,000 cows are run on the 12 other Van Diemen's Land Company circular head farms. Part of the Wool North strategy is to even out peak milk supply by utilising more autumn calving to supplement the spring and split calving farms. Silage production from cut grass directly captures the pasture nutrients at their most prolific and stores them securely for the leaner winter months. The climate gives a long season, and tailored pasture improvement, sophisticated management and advanced genetics added to the autumn calving schedule offer a 10-month production cycle. It extends well into the more lucrative payout times of the year, longer than the more well-known traditional dairy regions in this part of the world. In other blocks on the property, Wool North currently has 8,000 adult beef cattle and runs another 8,000 dairy heifers a year. Grazing utilises sophisticated technology as well. Angus cattle have replaced the traditional Herefords. GPS is used to intensively farm with break feeding, shifted on an optimum feed calculation that alternates pasture between periods of growing and of grazing. The field technology is as impressive as in the milking shed. Electronic ear tags record the history of that individual animal, birth weight, health treatments, what bull it was mated with, and when. The dairy development focus remains on Wool North, but further expansion into the surrounding circular head region will provide further economies of scale, not possible for dairy land anywhere else in the South Pacific region. Adding up to an additional 20 dairy farms on Wool North alone will provide a great investment return with a combination of capital gains and increased profit, as well as giving access to shared resources of research, marketing, purchasing, planning, servicing, not to forget lobby work, to rival any comparable dairy corporate structure anywhere. North West Tasmania is somewhat remote, but local farm supply businesses have risen to the challenge of providing a full range of farm equipment and services necessary to realise this farming potential. Nearby Smithton is an integral part of the strategic cluster that makes up the Wool North expansion plan. It's only a 40-minute drive to Burnie, and from there a 50-minute plane trip to Melbourne. It's a booming community, pioneering and installing new broadband communications technology with all of the administrative, educational and recreational facilities and infrastructure that's necessary for a modern Australian rural community. Global dairy trading giant Fonterra is on hand to process production from Wool North and the new surrounding farms. Fonterra pays not just on milk volume, but on milk solids, quality, seasonal and growth factors, again rewarding farm operations that emphasise smart production. Some legacies of the early charter days remain. The original homestead, Highfield, built by the first Van Diemen's Land Company agent, Edward Kerr, still stands at Stanley. At Wool North itself, the old iron gates are also a reminder of the past, now bypassed by 5,000 tourists a year who visit Wool North to see a slice of Australian history. One attraction is the restored 1831 cookhouse cottage. Of more uncertain history is this building. Maybe it was the station jail. The roaring 40s not only supply reliable rain, but are ideal as well for the wind farms. Like everything else here, it's large scale. 62 of these huge machines sustainably generate a tenth of Tasmania's electricity needs on land grazed by the company stock. Van Diemen's Land Company will look at sustainable energy production as part of the farm's future operations. Preserving the native wildlife is an integral component of the Wool North operation as well. The company's part of a sustainable farming community. Yellow-spotted tree frogs, the famous Tasmanian devil, and the wedge-tailed eagle are but a few of the land's neighbours. With a mission of preserving these legacies of the past and environmental management coexisting with intensive dairy development, Woolnorth heads into its third Royal Charter century with strong promise for the future. The market demand projections are positive, and dairy products are increasingly value-added and branded to consumers. Progressing Woolnorth's economies of scale and utilisation of technology presents a very rare opportunity to establish a fully vertically integrated operation if required. The team, the land, the water, the infrastructure, the proof of a large-scale dairy concept, they're all there. The gates are open. You're most welcome to join in.